morning first. Good to have all of you here today. It's good to be the church and be together on this Palm Sunday. And I noticed that Shelley handed out pieces of paper so the kids would have something to do. I have nothing for you except the sermon, and I apologize for that, except I'm sure that some of you probably have an earbud on and are listening as the Masters is unfolding. If I hear any loud cheers, I'll know it's not me. And if you have something to report, there's an empty row right up here. I'm sitting right there. I'd like to know. So the video you just saw was a video from the Cleveland Clinic. It was produced in 2012, and it was originally never intended for public consumption. This wasn't supposed to. It was supposed to be just for the employees, and sort of not a promotional video. It definitely wasn't a promotional video, but it was more like a training video. A way of saying that, when it comes to your patients, when it comes to your coworkers, when it comes to the volunteers in the hospital, anybody who walks in the door, even when it comes to you, we recognize and we see that there's more to those lives and to your life that meets the eye. And that life has these sort of invisible subtitles that you might be smiling on the outside, but inside there are all kinds of things going on. And you might be preoccupied, but it looks like you're preoccupied, but there's something else in your life that no one else sees. Again, a confirmation of the very first thing I said to you, right? That everyone is an iceberg. It's just another way of saying that again, isn't it? And I don't know about you, but if I have something wrong with me physically, that's the kind of place I want to go. I want to know that they're not just treating the physical part, but that they see some of the deeper things in my life as well. Sort of like our hospital here in Kossuth County, if you walk down one of the staircases, there is an inscription on one of the landings, and it says, "They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." And oh my goodness, what powerful words, what a reminder for everyone who walks through that hospital. It's not just hospitals though. It's every place. It's everywhere. You can just see it. People want to be known. They have this subtitled life, and they're lost and they're alone. I mean, just go into the grocery store and watch children who are sitting in the carts, and their mom is at the meat counter at Fairway or the produce at Hy-Vee, and she's looking over stuff, and the child is just going crazy. "Mom, I want this. Dad, I want that." Blah, 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 blah. And pretty soon, and everybody around him's thinking, "Oh, just give the kid what he wants." And pretty soon, mom reaches over and grabs that thing, that toy or that piece of candy, and hoping it will just pacify, and it doesn't. They're after something else. You know why? It isn't the candy. They want their parents. They want that full, undivided attention. We're all that way. We are all, each in our own way, a little bit lost, a little bit alone, wanting, searching for someone who will make a connection with us. Let's sing. So for the last several weeks during Lent, we've been on this Jesus journey. We've been moving through the Lenten season and through the story of Jesus' life, and now we're in that last very crucial week of the Jesus journey. And I will tell you, and you know, everything, of course, leads up to Easter. We all know that, the resurrection from the dead, the life everlasting, and that's that's the main centerpiece of our faith. But I will tell you that what happens in the days just before Easter are at least as important as Easter itself, especially when we start talking about Good Friday. The lesson that was just read this morning is a great example of that. Paul talks about Jesus, who does not count equality with God a thing to hold on to. But, Paul says, he empties himself. He takes the form of a servant. He takes on human substance, and he dies on the cross. He even takes on death for us. And that's so important because, frankly, over the centuries, before Jesus and even after Jesus, God has had this image problem. It's an image that he's just too big. It starts in the Old Testament. Some of the things that we've been studying in the adult class, the book of Exodus and Moses. You've got this God who is so large that no one can look upon him. He's so powerful that no one can step on the ground where he is. In fact, it says in the book of Exodus and the other books right after that, it says that if you were to step on the mountain, just on the mountain where God is at that time, you would die just to be in his presence. He's so large, and it makes him so detached from the world that we live in. The world that we know so well, so distant. God like that can't understand who we are, what we live with, or at least so we think. It certainly looks that way. And that's why Jesus comes the way he does. And by the way, that didn't end with Jesus. Jesus comes, empties himself, takes the form of a servant, dies on the cross. But there were still folks who had trouble with that. I've been working with my students at Iowa Central, and we've been studying Christianity, and there was an early teaching called Docetism. And Docetism is, it seems like a human. Jesus seems like a human, but he's not, is what they would say. He just makes a low pass at humanity. He pretends to be human. He pretends to die. And that's it. That's as far as it goes. My friends, Jesus doesn't fake death. Jesus doesn't make a low pass at humanity. He becomes humanity himself. And it is so important to us that he does. Because when he takes on that human form, he takes on everything that you know in this life. All of those things that make you feel lost and alone and without. He becomes your trials. He lives in your loneliness and your suffering and your losses. He is there as you have questions about life and you wonder why things are the way they are. Why is life so hard? He's right there. He takes the form of a servant. He becomes who we are. He lives our life. He dies our death. And he does this out of love for you. Because he knows where you are. He knows what your life's about. And it's not enough for him simply to know that. He becomes those things for you. Let's sing. So I want to give you a little update on the live stream and how that's going. We've had lots of people watching, and by the way, we could use some help with this. Shelley's back at the controls today, putting up slides for us. But we could have somebody that, if you'd like to be in the congregation and sort of tracking what's happening on Facebook, because people pop in and they say, "Hi, how you doing?" Sometime you could get into a conversation with somebody who really needs someone to talk to. So if you're interested in doing that, see me afterwards, see Shelley afterwards. It's just interesting the kinds of people who are popping in on Facebook. Shelley, would you show us the first picture? Here we go. Yep, there we go. Okay, so this is Alexa Gilbert is a member of our church. She's at the University of Iowa, and last Sunday, her guinea pig was feeling the Spirit. Shelley, next one. And then, of course, we have someone who will not be named, but she's here today. Oh, where'd she go? Did she go away? What happened? Oh, let's go back. And that is her dog, Sophie. Can we count Soph as a viewer today? Of course we can. One more I want to show you, and this one's interesting. There we go. I don't know if you can see this or not, but take a look at those numbers. This is just for about 4 weeks, middle of March to middle of April. We had 3,600 viewers, people that actually saw this. 3.5 of them engaged. 3,500 people engaged in what we were doing here, my friends. Okay, now, as I've told you in the past, I'm not big on numbers, except as they tell a story. And you know, I know some of those people, even if they engage, they're just sort of paging through and it pops up and they look at it for a few minutes and they go away. But don't you think there are people that are hungry out there? And for whatever reason, they can't find their way in here? Don't you think that's the case? Don't you think that there are people out there who live with these subtitles and no one ever sees that the subtitles exist in their lives? They keep on doing what they do. They keep on smile. They lead these normal, happy-looking lives. But they've got all this stuff that rests invisible to everyone else. And you know, they might stay on that feed for a while. And they might listen to a message. And then we might scan the camera across the congregation here. And he'll see a bunch of other smiling people. And let me tell you, if you're watching today and we scan and you see a bunch of smiling people here, there's a lot of invisible subtitles going on in here as well. And you know, just like everyone else, everyone is looking for a connection. Everyone's lost. Everyone's alone. Everyone wants someone to not only just simply know that that stuff exists, but they want to be with people who also have subtitles. And they want to walk together, to walk through this life together and know that they're not alone. That's what happens here. And maybe it happens for one of you who's in this congregation, and maybe you've been coming here for a long time, or maybe this is your first time here. And maybe you've been carrying that stuff for a long, long time and never really realized that the person sitting next to you has a subtitle just like you do. Or maybe you stumbled upon a Facebook feed, and for whatever reason, instead of scrolling up for more, you stopped there and you listened for a few more minutes. And you feel that pang that's always back in the back of your heart. And it comes forward, even for an instant. Look at the crowd that's here today. We're all doing the same thing. Maybe you're a homeless guy who is found a place at Beacon of Hope in Fort Dodge. And in a week or two, you're going to pick up a cereal box. I see it's almost overflowing out there. Don't worry, I've got a bigger box. Keep bringing them, folks. And you're going to pick up that cereal box on Thursday morning after we deliver them on Wednesday night. And there's going to be a note there from a 6-year-old. It says, Jesus loves you, written right on the box. And the subtitles of your life are suddenly shared with someone else. It starts with Jesus, who does not fake death. He's not an actor who's putting on a good performance, and then at the end of the day, he walks off the stage because he's just an actor. He's God, God himself, who comes as a human, empties himself, taking human form, carrying human likeness, dying on the cross, knowing every part of your life, and not simply knowing it, but sharing it with you. He wants a relationship with you. He loves you. He cares about you. And he will walk with you through everything in your life that is trial, trouble, hurt, loneliness, fear. He is there. He's there because he's been there. He knows it. He's walked it himself, and he is your friend. And then Paul says, at the beginning of this passage, now he's talking to us who are sitting here. Have this mind among you, Paul says, to be like Jesus, who did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself and became a servant. You, as the people of God, as First Lutheran Church, have that mind among you. You know how Jesus walks with you. So start looking for people with subtitles that no one else can see. Befriend them. Touch them. Walk with them. Because you see, it's you walking with them, but it's more than you walking with them. Because Jesus walks with you, and now you take the hand of another, and you walk with that person. And all of a sudden, it's not one, and it's not two. It's three. And 3 becomes 4, and 4 becomes 5, and 5 becomes more. And pretty soon, we're not just an assembly of people. We're the church of Jesus Christ, having that mind among us, caring for others as Christ cared for each of us. My friends, I would love First Lutheran to just be like crazy overflowing for like 3 worship services on a Sunday morning. But I will tell you that anything that looks slick or fancy or some kind of cool new program that's going to bring them all in, it might bring them in for a while, but that's not what's going to do it. What's going to do it is if we don't try to make those things happen. What's going to do it is just simply loving the people around us. No pretension, no strings attached. If you don't come here, that's okay. We're just going to love you. And Christ will use that. And he will change the people that you touch, and he will change this place. And for that we give him thanks and praise. Amen.